Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss a topic in a chapter called Life Process, and our topic is human nutrition. So, as I have already told you certain things about nutrition, we have already discussed about autotrophic nutrition and heterotrophic nutrition. Now, we are going to discuss nutrition in human beings. So, as you know, this is a very wide topic. Considering the fact that it is a wide topic, and since you belong to class 10th, I have made this topic a little less as such. I have tried to contract the topic, and that is the reason why you may not find many things here as such. This will be according to the syllabus of class 10th. So, now let us talk about certain things in human nutrition. You know that we eat many things, and the important food components which are present are carbohydrates, fats, proteins, etc. So, in case of human beings, we are omnivorous. So, let us talk about how this process of nutrition takes place in case of human beings. Now, you know that this is as you can see the diagram, this is the buccal cavity, also called as oral cavity. Then inside the oral cavity we have teeth present, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3. This is a formula in case of human beings. You can multiply this with 2, you get 16 teeth above and 16 teeth below, which is equal to 32. Now, these first two teeth, these are called as incisors. Then we have canines, premolars and molars, as you can see. Upper jaw and lower jaw, upper jaw and lower jaw. So, in the human adult we have 32 number of teeth starting from the incisors. The function of the teeth is to grind the food, as you already know. Then in the oral cavity we have a muscular tongue that is used for mastication of the food. Then salivary glands are present. You must be knowing about salivary glands. There are 3 types of glands which are present in the buccal cavity. One is called as parotid gland, which is present very near to the cheek, this part, parotid gland. Then parotid glands are present, then very near to the cheeks, near to cheeks. Now, second one is submandibular. Submandibular or submaxillary gland, which is present in the lower jaws, Then we have sublingual. This is lower jaws, then sublingual. Sublingual gland is present beneath the tongue. So, these 3 glands, the function is to release saliva. You must be knowing that saliva is very important for us because it contains many of the nutrients such as calcium, potassium, sodium, bicarbonate ions. Along with this, it contains an enzyme, the only enzyme, which is called as salivary amylase. See, in nutrition first we will be discussing about digestion, then we will be discussing about absorption, and then we will be discussing about release of undigested food. So that is we have to discuss. First is digestion, second one is absorption, and the third one is ejection, that is excretion of the waste product. Now in digestion, let me tell you what is in a very simple way what is digestion. Digestion is simply breakdown of complex material, complex food into simple food. Now in case of human beings, this digestion starts to take place in the inside the oral cavity, that is called as buccal cavity, and I have already told you that inside the buccal cavity there are three salivary glands which release saliva, and I was also talking about what are the important components which are present in the saliva as such. Salivary amylase is the only enzyme which is present in the saliva, and the function of salivary amylase is to break down carbohydrates. That means it acts on starch, it breaks down carbohydrate. 30% of the digestion of the carbohydrates takes place in the buccal cavity with the help of salivary amylase. Now the food, along with the help of the teeth as well as the tongue, yes, of course, saliva also takes a very important part, is converted into a form which is called as bolus. Now this bolus moves from this part, it leaves the buccal cavity and it enters a common pathway. That is, see, the end of the nasal cavity also opens up here and end of the oral cavity also opens up here. This is called as pharynx. So that is a common pathway of both the nasal cavity as well as the oral cavity, where both of them end. That is particular part is called as pharynx. Now the food moves from the pharynx to a tube which is called as oesophagus. It is also called as food pipe. Now esophagus is also called as food pipe. Very near to the food pipe, another pipe is located. It has not been shown here, but another pipe is located very near to the food pipe, and that is called as windpipe. Now at the anterior part of the windpipe, let us suppose this is a windpipe. At the anterior part, there is a cartilaginous flap-like structure which is called as epiglottis. It covers the above part of the windpipe which is called as glottis. So this is a cartilaginous part, epiglottis, covering the upper part of the windpipe. Now it remains closed at the time of swallowing of the food, because the food can enter the windpipe as such, and you know it can be very dangerous. Sometimes while eating food we used to talk, and at that time the food can enter the windpipe. It becomes a problem for us. So this cartilaginous flap-like structure, it protects the outer part of the windpipe so that the food may not enter the windpipe as such. Okay, now let us talk about the things which we were discussing. As the food enters the esophagus, there is a peristaltic movement of the esophagus. Because of that particular movement, the food is easily moves from the upper part of the esophagus towards the lower part of the esophagus. As you can already see, there is a muscular structure which is called as diaphragm, diaphragm, which is present here. As the food enters in the stomach, this is a muscular stomach which is present. At the end of the esophagus, there is a structure which is called as stomach, muscular stomach. Churning of the food takes place inside the stomach. I must tell you certain things. At the end part of this esophagus, there is a structure which is called a sphincter. Sphincter. It is a wall-like structure. It allows the food to pass in the stomach, from esophagus in the stomach, in a regulated manner, or you can say in a coordinated manner. So it is a kind of valve, sphincter. Okay, sphincters are present at various locations, at various points, or you can say at various junctions in between the organs, important organs. So here the sphincter is present. In the food, in the stomach, the stomach is actually divided into three parts, but since you are in class 10th, it won't be possible for me to tell all the three parts as such. There are actually three parts. We have not been, since the space is less, I was not able to locate the three parts, but the three parts are cardiac, fundus and pyloric. Cardiac is this part, fundus is this part, and pyloric is this region, the end part of the stomach. Now let us discuss what happens inside the stomach. I think I should rub this. Okay. Now in the stomach, there are certain glands that are called as gastric glands, which release certain kind of enzymes. So enzyme for the digestion of proteins. For example, enzyme is released which is called as pepsin. First it is in inactivated form, pepsinogen. It gets converted into pepsin later on, into its active form. Now, there was one mistake. The pH of this particular region, salivary gland, which I was discussing, was not 1.8, it was 6.8. So I am very sorry for this. Not 1.8. The pH of the salivary the saliva was 6.8 and not 1.8. Sorry for this. See, at present I am discussing about stomach. There are certain gastric glands which release pepsin, and the pH is something around 1.8 as such. The pepsin is a kind of enzyme responsible for digestion of protein. Now, there is certain glands are also present here in the stomach which releases HCl, hydrochloric acid. Now, what is the function of hydrochloric acid? It is responsible for maintaining the pH of the stomach, as well as so that the pepsinogen or the inactivated form can be converted into activated form, which is called as pepsin. So that is one of the function of HCl which is formed inside the stomach. The other function is to kill all those microorganisms which enter inside the stomach. So these are the two main functions of the HCl. One is to convert the pepsinogen into pepsin form, and the second is to maintain the acidity of the stomach and to kill all the harmful microorganisms which enter inside the stomach. Okay, now let us discuss certain other things. The content present in the stomach has to move towards the small intestine. As I have already told you that at various junctions a valve like structure is present which is called as sphincter, S-P-H-I-N-C-T-E-R. This sphincter is also present at this particular end, that is in between the end of the stomach and the starting of the first part of the small intestine, and that is called as duodenum. Here also this will be present, sphincters. Okay. Now the food is moving from here inside the stomach. The food, the protein part of the food has already been digested. Some amount of fat is digested, but in the stomach there is no provision for the digestion of carbohydrates. So you can say that in the stomach digestion of carbohydrates does not take place. So what are the two things which are digested in the stomach? First is proteins. They change into smaller protein, or you can say peptones. Breakdown of protein takes place, changes into peptones. And the second is some amount of lipid is broken down. Some amount of lipid is broken down. So for the digestion of protein, I have already told you there is a enzyme present called as pepsin, and for the digestion of lipid there is a enzyme which is called as gastric lipase. Gastric lipase. No carbohydrate digestion takes place inside the stomach. So now the food is moving from this part to the small intestine. The first part of the small intestine is called as duodenum, which is very small. It is just about 25 centimeters in length. This is the first part, duodenum, and the second part you can see here, jejunum, duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Jejunum, and the third part is called as ileum. D-U-O-D-E-N-U-M, J-E-G-U-N-U-M, I-L-E-U-M. So these are the three parts, duodenum, jejunum and ileum. Okay. Now as the food enters inside the duodenum, the pancreas, they also have certain enzymes in order to digest all the three components of the food, that is carbohydrate, lipids, or you can say fats and proteins. So pancreas are the structures which have all the types of enzyme in order to digest all the components of the food. I have told you earlier that stomach do not digest carbohydrate, but pancreas are able to digest all the three components of the food. So they have the enzyme to digest everything. Now all the components, or you can say all the enzymatic components, they enter the duodenum also. The first part of the intestine, they pour their secretion in the intestine, as well as the liver containing the bile, it also releases all its content in the first part of the intestine, that is small, that is duodenum. Okay, now let us discuss one by one. First, the liver, it synthesizes bile. Bile is stored in a structure which is called as gallbladder. Here you can see a structure very small, very near to the liver. This is called as gallbladder. It is responsible for temporary storage of bile juice, which is being synthesized by the liver. Now liver is a very large structure. It is the largest gland, It is responsible for synthesis of bile. Bile plays a very important role in emulsification of fat. That is, they break down the fat component into bigger components of fat into smaller components. Now, as the food reaches the duodenum, pancreas also releases its enzymes into the food. I have already told you pancreas contain all the enzyme responsible for digestion of all the components of the food. Now let us talk about certain things here. Trypsin. It is one of the important enzyme of the pancreas responsible for digestion of proteins. Now there are many other enzymes also, but in your NCERT book I only saw trypsin that is mentioned. So apart from trypsin there are many other enzymes, for example chymotrypsinogen, procarboxypeptidase, but since it has not been mentioned, so I won't tell you about this. In this duodenum region there is a medium, alkaline medium is present, not acidic medium, unlike that of stomach. In the stomach acidic medium was present. In this particular region, duodenum region, alkaline medium is present, and alkaline medium is very important for all the enzymes to get activated. Without the alkaline medium, the enzymes cannot become activated. So in this particular region, due to alkaline nature, alkaline secretions, the trypsin is functional and it is responsible for digestion of protein. Similarly, many other enzymes are secreted here for the digestion of lipids and carbohydrates also. Now, in the duodenum, jejunum and ileum region, inside their walls, there is a structure called as villi, V-I-L-L-I. For example, let us assume that this is the structure, this one, comparing this one with this. So these are the walls, outer walls of the small intestine. This is the lumen, L-U-M-E-N, of the small intestine. This lumen is not like this, this is like this. This region is like something like this. Infoldings are present, you can see. These infoldings are actually called as villi. Now, if you cut any region from this small intestine, you will find the same this infoldings which are called as villi. Now the villi contains just here as such, suppose this is a villi. Suppose these are villi. And this is the wall. Here the food is getting diffused. You can imagine a cylindrical like structure. Here the food is present. The food can be diffused from this place to this place. Here number of blood capillaries are present. These are the blood capillaries. So the villi contains number of blood capillaries. These are the now the food has to diffuse from this area, from the lumen, inside the blood capillaries as such. So what is the role of these villi? They increase the absorptive surface. So villi are naturally present in the intestine, and the main work of the villi is to increase the absorptive surface so that the food can diffuse through their walls and enter the blood capillaries, which are located just inside the villi, this region as such. Now what will the blood capillaries do? They will send this food, or you can say they will transport this food to every components of the cell present in the organism, to every cell, each and every cell of the organism. So that is the work of the transport system in our body as such. Okay, so this is how the absorption takes place. So you should not get confused. This is the lumen through which the food is moving. It is moving like this. Here if you will cut, you will see the same lumen. This is a hollow structure, and these are the places where the muscular wall is present. These are the structures which are called as villi. Just villi के ठीक पीछे जो चीज़ प्रेजेंट होती है वो होती है ब्लड कैपिलरीज. यू ठीक पीछे प्रेजेंट होती है, यानी कि यहाँ पे इस तरफ हर जगह पीछे, ऐसे ऐसे हर जगह यहाँ पे. ये जो कैपिलरीज हैं, ये जब फूड का डाइजेशन हो जाता है तो इन फूड को लेकर ये हर सेल्स के अंदर पहुँचती है. ये ड्यूडेनम ही वो जगह है जहाँ पे फूड का कंप्लीट डाइजेशन होता है. ड्यूडेनम इज अ प्लेस वेयर द कंप्लीट डाइजेशन ऑफ द फूड टेक्स प्लेस. इट इज अ प्लेस ऑफ द कंप्लीट डाइजेशन ऑफ द फूड. एंड आई हैव डिस्कस्ड अबाउट द work of the pancreas. In case of duodenum, the walls of the duodenum, they also release certain enzymes responsible for the digestion of the food, all the three components of the food, and here the complete digestion takes place. Apart from that, small intestine is also the area where the absorption takes place. Okay, now the waste material. See, the small intestine consists of duodenum, this is the part which is called as jejunum, and this is the part which is called as ileum. Again, ileum is meeting the larger intestine. So the larger intestine again consists of three parts: cecum, C-A-E-C-U-M, cecum, colon, and this is the part which is called as rectum. So large intestine is again divided into three parts: cecum, colon, and this is the part which is called as rectum. So naturally sphincter will also be located here. These are the two different organs. As I have already told you, sphincters are located at every junctions. So sphincter is also located here. Moreover, from here the waste material is passed from the small intestine to the large intestine and then again to the anus. Just before its release in the anus, there is again a sphincter. This is actually called as not anus, this is rectum. Cecum, colon and rectum, this is the last part of the large intestine, and here again a sphincter is present. It regulates the amount of undigested food being released outside through the anus. So again here a sphincter is present. Okay, now the absorption naturally I have told you takes place in the small intestine, and the food which is now undigested, it moves towards the through the jejunum and ileum and it enters the large intestine. In the large intestine, certain absorption of water and important nutrients may take place, and the undigested food, it passes through the various parts of the large intestine, that is cecum, colon, and then rectum, and finally it is discharged outside. Finally it is discharged outside. Now, see, I have already told you about all the three aspects that is related with digestion. Absorption, where the small intestine do play a very important role, and then ejection. In case of large intestine, it is large in diameter, but it is not big in length, not large, very lengthy as such. It has a big diameter, and that is the reason why it is called as large intestine. The food passes from the large intestine, and then again it is released by the end part of the large intestine called as rectum. So, just in order to simplify, I will say certain things, I will write down certain things. Should I rub this? I hope you have understood this. See, now in the buccal cavity, what happens is 30% carbohydrate digestion takes place. Lipids and proteins are not digested. Then in the stomach, protein digestion takes place, some amount of fat digestion takes place, but there is no carbohydrate digestion. Carbohydrate is not digested. Okay. Protein is digested, lipid is digested, no carbohydrate is digested. With the help of pancreas, all food components are digested. All food components. Are digested. That is protein, lipid and carbohydrate. All the three things are digested. Then bile is released by the liver. It is temporarily stored in the gallbladder, as I have already told you. It is responsible for emulsification of fat, that is changing the larger fat globules into smaller fat globules. Then in the small intestine, all the components of the food is digested. That is, protein is also digested, carbohydrate is also digested, and lipid is also digested. Finally, the protein changes into amino acids after the digestion process. Lipid is changes into fatty acid and glycerol. Fatty acid and glycerol. And third, carbohydrates changes into glucose. So that is the end of the digestion. Absorption I have already told about, in foldings present in the small intestine which are called as villi, that increases the surface area of the small intestine. It is required for the absorption of the food. So I think the food which is not being digested, it has to be removed out from the body, and that is removed out from the rectum part, that is the last part of the large intestine. Large intestine contains three parts: cecum, colon and rectum, and there is an anal sphincter just before the last part, just in between the anus and the rectum there is a sphincter, anal sphincter. It regulates the amount of undigested food being released out. Thank you. I hope you like my topic. Thank you very much.